Hello, and welcome to the Legend of the Nuka Slugger. This is a new series using the Fallout Wasteland Warfare game system to follow the exploits of the eponymous Nuka Slugger, a psychopathic wasteland denizen who loves nothing but baseball and Nuka-Cola. Functionally, this will be a series of small-scale scenarios featuring the Slugger versus other small lists of the same value. The scenario for Part 1 is called Hands Off My Shit. In it, some raiders have decided to make a run at the Slugger's gear bag. They'll start on the left side of the board and have to pick up the bag on the right side of the field and get it back across to their starting edge. The Slugger just has to prevent that. I didn't put a turn limit on this scenario because I wanted to see how it would go. It's also not using the event or other Wasteland decks. I wanted to keep everything moving quickly and not add in too many additional variables. Here we see the aforementioned gear bag. It's filled with food, water, caps, and the materials needed to make baseball grenades. It's also super heavy. Any model carrying the bag has their speed reduced by one color. A model can pick the bag up by ending an action while in base-to-base contact with it. Here's the man himself. The Slugger is actually just a veteran raider, stats and abilities-wise. Instead of using the normal veteran raider kit, though, he has a custom baseball-themed loadout, which actually lends itself well to his stats. He's got a baseball bat for melee, and is only one strength point away from getting an extra black die when attacking with it. I'm sure later he'll find some performance enhancers to get there. The Big Leagues perk lets him re-roll one black die if it comes up blank. There aren't any baseball-themed guns, so for ranged attacks he has a single baseball grenade. It's assumed that between scenarios he makes another one, so he's always got one when starting a scenario. The baseball cap turns his already impressive range with grenades from blue to black, the furthest it can be, and with a +2 bonus, he only needs to roll a 9 or better, which is almost as sure as you can get. For the same caps as the Slugger, there are two raiders that are trying to gank his gear. A generic raider with a pipe rifle and machete for range support, and a speed demon psycho who can move fast and hit hard with a board. Here's the setup for the scenario. The gear bag is sitting on the right side of the board. The enemy raiders are set up on the left side. Standing between them is the Nuka Slugger, ready to defend his turf. As an additional special rule for this scenario, each attacker can roll an armor die, and make a number of orange moves equal to the die result. Of course, the speedy psycho rolls a 4, and works his way up the board until they're basically right in the Slugger's face. The generic raider also rolls pretty well, getting to make 3 moves. They also advance, but aren't quite as close as the psycho is. So at the beginning of turn 1, the enemies are almost already halfway to the gear bag. Maybe I need to rethink this rule. We'll see. Since the Slugger stands alone, he gets the advantage marker to start. Figuring that the psycho would rather attack than go for the objective, the Slugger vaults over the car in a charge, and misses wildly on his swing, whiffing with 2 extra damage as an extra bummer. He does get a quick action, though, and prepares. Unfortunately, the Psycho does decide to run for the objective, and with their super fast red move distance, they get to the bag without any issues. I thought about having the Slugger chase after them with his reaction, but he couldn't have caught up. The Raider rolled an objective result on their AI card, so I interpreted that as wanting to protect the Psycho as best as possible. So they pulled back in order to get a shot, since the AI decision also selected a ranged attack, and also forced the Slugger to split his attention. Unfortunately, the quick swat on the Raider for withdrawing was a miss. As a quick action, the Slugger would have needed a 5, so an 8 wasn't quite enough. Then, using his reaction marker, the Slugger charges again, putting the Raider in basically the same situation, but now further away from the objective. Even though the Raider's AI card selected a ranged attack, I figured that since they were already in melee range again, that the Raider would use their machete. Despite rolling 2 extra damage, the swing goes wide. At the end of turn 1, the Psycho has already grabbed the objective, and the Slugger is tied up with the Raider on the opposite end of the board. Not the best situation for the Slugger to be in. Since the Slugger is still alone, he keeps the advantage marker. Realizing that I need him to intercept the Psycho, I decide to break out of the melee with the Raider. They try a swipe with the machete as the Slugger retreats, but it also goes wide. Lots of 9s getting rolled today. After his reposition, the Slugger prepares to try and catch that Psycho. The Raider randomly goes first, and their first shot misses again, but does give them a prepare action. Their second shot connects, though, with 2 damage. The Slugger blocks 1 and takes his first damage of the game. The Psycho starts moving up, dragging the heavy gear bag with him. However, that's close enough and in line of sight for the Slugger. He uses his prepare token to drill a fastball grenade into the Psycho's skull. Even though it's a quick action, he hits easily and breaks through all the Psycho's armor, leading to 3 big damage. The Psycho has only 1 hit point left after that. Hooray for tactics! Dragging the heavy bag, the Psycho can't even charge to get into a melee with the Slugger, so they just move up yellow. At the end of turn 2, the Psycho is already halfway back to their side with the gear bag, but is hanging on by a thread. Retaining the initiative marker, the Slugger charges in and rolls a massive 4 damage baseball bat swat. Too bad he missed completely. He probably knocked the taillight off that car and sent it over into the next settlement. The Psycho activates next, and rolls an attack action for their decision matrix. It turns out, though, that at 1 HP they always attack recklessly. I guess they figure that the only way to truly complete their objective is to remove all the enemies on the field. Their first swat with the board connects, doing 2 damage. The Slugger's armor shrugs off 1, so he takes his second of 7 damage. The second hit also connects, but the Slugger's armor holds up. I like to imagine that the Slugger caught the board mid-swing and is now staring the Psycho down while holding their weapon still. They picked the wrong dude to mess with. The Raiders' AI result ends up being a move, since they want to have a friendly within their awareness range, and that's now actually possible to do. So they move up and take a shot into the melee. Even though it's easier to hit the big dust-up, their shot goes wide. Those pipe rifles aren't the most reliable sometimes. I didn't take an end of turn 3 shot, so we roll right into turn 4. Retaining the advantage, the Slugger takes a good thwack and puts the Psycho down for good. For his second action, he charges in and takes a black die as his charge bonus. His next hit could be a wallop, as long as he doesn't X out. The Raider decided to split the difference, move towards the objective, and fire once. The shot is good and resulted in 2 total damage. The Slugger's armor absorbed 1, and he took his 3rd point of damage. The turn ends, and things are heating up. The Psycho is down, but has gotten the objective more than halfway back to the goal line. The Raider is untouched, but only has 4 HP in total. The Slugger is just above half health, but has only 1 target. Things can get pretty interesting from here. Especially since now that the Psycho is down, the advantage marker will pass back and forth between the 2 sides, which effectively means that each character now will get 2 turns in a row, with a turn break in between. Not that this matters at all, since we're not using an event deck. So the Raider rolls their AI dice, and I decided to take their friendly within presence condition check and put on the addendum, or no friendlies left on the board, mainly because it gives the Raider the best chance of actually deciding to do their objective, which they decided to do. So they snag the bag, and start booking it as best they can. It's not fast enough, though. The Slugger charges and thumps 2 damage into the Raider's back. Rolling the turn around, the advantage comes back to the Slugger. His first thwack is a solid hit, breaking all of the Raider's armor. Despite the black die reroll with big leagues, though, only a single point of damage gets through. The second attempt would have definitely done the job, but an 8 is just shy of a hit. The bat must have just grazed the Raider's chin as it smacks into the hood of the nearby car. The Raider moves, and I forgot to take a photo of the Slugger's quick attack for breaking engagement, but it was another whiff. The Raider fires back over their shoulder, hitting the Slugger, but failing to get through his activewear armor. The Raider gets a prepare token, but since their turn is up next, they lose that token before getting to use it. The turn ends again, but the advantage marker coming back means that the Raider gets another turn and decides to book it. After 2 moves, they're dangerously close to the board edge. Getting 3 moves, even at orange distance, puts the Raider out of range for a charge plus attack from the Slugger, so he has to spend his whole turn catching up. Here we are, neck and neck. If the Raider gets free with 1 more turn, they're off the board. Not to fear, though. With a mighty crack, the Slugger's bat connects with the back of the fleeing Raider's skull, and they crumple to the ground. As the world starts to go black, they hear the gravelly voice say, "Hands off my shit!" That's the end of part 1 of The Legend of the Nuka Slugger. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a few things already planned out, so look for some more entries, coming soon.